Hello everyone and welcome back to another TCC video. Today we're going to be talking about the Pokemon card market and how it affects you. If you're into other collectibles like let's say Yu-Gi-Ohs or Magic or something similar, it's probably pretty relevant to you as well. I'm going to talk about what I think is going to happen, predictions. We're also going to talk about the current state of the market as well. If you guys shop every day for cards like I do, I spend a few hours a day shopping every single day, all 7 days. You will have noticed, undoubtedly, that ever since about January, the price of cards have been falling. Some cards fell a lot, like Charizard's a great example. Most Charizards fell like 40%. Maybe that's because for a little while, everyone was hoping the Charizard would sell for $1 bazillion, and basically, when you list and buy it now on eBay, you can ask anything you want. You want to sell your card for $16,000, list it for $16,000. Now, that might be very different from what somebody wants to buy it for, right? So the actual market price, the real price, is determined by what the buyer is asking, what the sellers will accept. So it's a combination of both of them. They both have a say. For example, if you're the buyer, you might be saying, well, I might not run into this card again. I guess I'll pay what the seller wants. If you're the seller, you might be going, I might not ever sell this card. It might just sit here for a year and I never get my cash, and then the price of the card falls and then I'm really screwed. So it's all about predictions, and that's why a video like this is useful for you guys, right? So let's talk about card grading. PSA continues to dominate the market. Mostly I look at PSA slabs because I know they hold a lot of value. I was thinking about that subject a lot. The concept of PSA graded cards holding a lot of value. Why does it do that? Now I realize what PSA really sells is trust. People trust the PSA brand. They're not necessarily buying the card. You see, I've rallied against that actually in my TikToks. I had a sort of epiphany, like, you guys should buy the card, not the grade. You guys should buy the card, not the logo. And some people in the comment section were like, yeah, I get it. The card, no matter who grades it, is the same card. It could be a 9.5 at Beckett, a 9.5 at Cgc, a 10 at PSA, or let's say a 98 at some other bizarre. There was like some company that was doing like out of 100, which by the way, that was not popular. Well, anyways, you're just supposed to buy the card and not the logo or the brand. But that's not what auction history and buy now history on eBay tells us. eBay tells us a different story. eBay tells us people want PSA cards. And that probably has to do with the fact that they've graded more Pokemon cards than anyone else. So first of all, there's just a lot of them out there. So if you have a couple million cards or however many it is, what's this say? 48508853. Look at the number on it. Well, it's going to be in reverse, isn't it? Let's see, what is that actual number? Is that like 4 million or something? 48 million? Is that right? 48 million? Well, anyways, if there's that many Pokemon cards out there graded by PSA, there's a little second-hand economy going, or market, where people are just constantly trading those cards back and forth for cash. And this, I think, creates that logo trust. They just have the most cards. And I think it would take a very long time for both Cgc and Beckett to ever catch up. It just won't happen. Basically, to catch up, I think what would have to happen is people would have to peel out their PSA cards, send them off to Cgc and say, I don't want this in a PSA slab. I wanted it in a Cgc slab. I don't think that's going to happen. I think people prefer the PSA brand precisely because when you send your cards off to Cgc, they're going to wreck it. They're going to say, your card's actually an 8 or some terrible thing like, oh, 8.5, right? Which is a subject you can talk about entirely on its own. So Cgc is struggling, in my opinion, to hold a lot of value because they are tougher on the grading, even though it's the same card, guys. It's the same card. You're buying the same card. It's not like if you took a PSA 10 Charizard out and it came back 8.5 at Cgc or maybe 9.5, it's the same card. But if you've got a 9.5 Cgc like this, people don't want that. Sorry, I know it's in reverse. Pretend you're looking in a mirror. So people don't want that. And I kind of get it. I've gone shopping for Cgc 9.5s and I'm looking at it, I'm like, that's a lot of money. One of the things you notice is that guys selling their 9.5s, they would very much like to sell it as a PSA 10. They would very much like that. And that's because, they know if they had gotten it out with PSA, they could sell it at the PSA price. So they would very much like to believe they can sell it for that much, but it doesn't really sell too well. And as a buyer, I go in and I go, why would I spend $400 on the 9.5 when I can just go get the 10 with PSA? And I'm more confident that I would be able to resell it for, let's say, $400 or whatever I was spending on it. So that is a big problem for Cgc and Beckett, because Beckett does the same thing. having your price or having your grading system sort of go on this 9.5 gem mint. See, right? Again, imagine you can actually read this. It says gem mint there, right? Can you read that? I don't think you can read that. So it says gem mint there, just like a PSA gem mint. Well, this is a PSA 9. Just like a PSA gem mint, but PSA costs theirs 10 and CGC costs theirs 9.5, and it is not working in my opinion. It is not working for CGC and Beckett. What I would recommend to them is that they go ahead and change their 9.5s to 10. Now I know if you're a Beckett fan and if you're a CGC fan, you'll say, hell no, you know what I mean? But it's the truth that people do not want to see 9.5 on their card. PSA is the standard for the market because they have so many graded cards out there. Again, it would take a very long time for CGC or Beckett to catch up, because while they're trying to catch up, PSA's over here shut down for 4 months, and they're like, we're fine. Let's charge them $200 for Express. We got plenty of cards, you know what I mean? PSA's not even slightly concerned, I guess, about opening back up, because if they were concerned about competition, they would have opened up already, or they would have lowered prices or something like that. They said, no, we're not going to lower prices. You goof. So CGC and Beckett, they probably won't change that about their grading. They probably won't start calling their gem mint 9.5s 10s, but they really ought to, because I think at that point, people would feel more confident buying them, knowing that they could resell them as 10s. By the way, that plays a big role, just the keyword. When I'm searching for a card, I don't search Pikachu 9.5. Are you kidding? I search Pikachu 10. So none of the 9.5s from CGC ever show up for me. The only way they show up is if in the listing you do like, or PSA 10, you know what I mean? Or PSA 10 equivalent or some goofy thing like that. So that is, it just shows you right off the bat the way people think about graded cards and the problem with 9.5s for CGC. So my perspective, PSA's been shut down a long time, and that is affecting card prices. And their competition, which I think their primary competition is CGC and Beckett, their competition is never going to catch up. It's just not going to happen. They're not going to catch up. They're always going to be behind. If they were to make that change, I think it'd be a big deal. Let's talk a little bit actually about Cgc Pristine Cards. So here's a Pristine. I own one. That's a base set Mewtwo Pristine. By the way, if you pay attention, a lot of Japanese cards end up getting the Pristine. The English cards don't get Pristine as often, and that's already kind of concerning. Makes me feel like not sending my English cards to CGC, only the Japanese ones. Have you guys felt that? I've felt that. Well, anyways, here's the problem with Pristine cards. I go to the market looking up Pristine, and just like I've said before, the Pristine really should sell for more money than the PSA 10, but they sell for a lot more money. It's not like a small difference, and I go, should I buy the Pristine 10 for like $200 more? Or should I just go buy the PSA 10, which I'm pretty confident I could resell a PSA 10 anyways? And another thing is, on an occasion, a PSA 10 probably is Pristine. So just look for a nice looking PSA 10, right? And don't pay as much for it, you know what I mean? So the Pristine 10s of any card that is actually kind of cool, they're like bizarrely expensive. And what really gets me is, you look at so this one doesn't have subgrades on it. No subgrades. And the Pristine 10 looks really nice. But there's this weird thing where if it has subgrades, now you got to stare at the 9.5 on the card and be like, you know, the card's not perfect. You know, I think it's all about wanting perfect cards, you know. People are obsessed with 10s. It's like OCD. Here's the Beckett label, by the way. Beckett's still looking nice. That's also in reverse. But you can see centering 9.5, corners 9.5, edges 9.5. I don't know, man. Would I pay a lot for that card? I wouldn't pay a lot when I could just go get the PSA 10. It just looks better. That's the truth. You know, it's like wallpaper. Like, what kind of wallpaper do you guys want on your Pokemon cards? The wallpaper that looks nice. So my idea that you should be buying the card, not the logo, although I feel that I'm still correct in the thinking, it is not popular with average people. It's not popular with the average buyer, and that's the problem. So I've been thinking a lot about that. CGC is still cheaper. Their turnaround times are faster. PSA is killing it, though. They really are. They're the best. I'm not a fan of how like off-center a PSA 10 can be, but you know, if you're really good, just look at the card before you buy it. Let somebody else buy the junky ones, I guess. In the end, you can have lots of your own thoughts about the market, but you have to go off of data. You have to go off of what people actually want. You have to respond to that. You can be opinionated, but you have to be clever enough to do what you think is the most efficient or value, maybe the best thing. You know, it's all about predicting again. That's the word I was using. You're meant to make the smartest move all the time. Oh, also there's, what is this? SGC? Yeah, SGC. I saw that video from SGC. You know, I haven't had any cards graded with them. I kind of don't like the, no offense SGC, but your slab's kind of weird, man. The black outline on the, what is that? It's like filler? I don't know. SGC is okay. I think they were like $30 a card is the hard part. It makes me go, why would I do SGC when CGC is cheaper? And the CGC slab is so powerful, dude. I think it's made in the USA, isn't it? Is the slab made in the USA? Dude, that slab's powerful. I really like it. So let's move on to talking about where I'm predicting the card market to go right now. From January, the price of the cards did plummet, as I suggested. They went down 40% for some cards. The interesting part is that it didn't happen to all cards. Ooh. So it turned out all cards were going up in price pretty significantly when we were getting our latest stimulus check and we were heading into Christmas. People had Christmas money. They wanted to buy some nice stuff. There was all the hype still for Logan Paul. And the price of cards were probably very high. And they fell, but some cards really did not fall that much. I have been updating my slabs. As you guys know, one of the things I like to do is I track constantly the price of my slabs. And what you see is that during January, there was a peak. But however, some cards fell pretty far below that peak and other cards didn't really fall at all. And a few cards only fell a little bit. And that's especially true for a lot of vintage cards. And surprisingly, plenty of modern cards as well did not fall that much, despite how far they grew in population. So keeping track of the population is pretty important as well. One of the things I have noticed is that for the old WotC vintage cards, their PSA 10 populations have not moved that much. And that is that should scare you really, because they're already pretty expensive. Their prices did not retrace that far. I don't even know if I like the word retrace. You know, we would use the word retrace when we coded. Well, anyways, the prices did not fall that far. Some of them not at all. And their PSA 10 populations are not moving up. Old vintage 10 WotC cards are underpriced. That includes the Japanese ones as well. And I actually saw plenty of Japanese cards slightly move up in price. Now here's the scariest part. We're moving into August. And again, I shop. My job, I'm crazy. I live stream every night. Well, you know what else I do? I shop every single day. Every single day I shop. So you're supposed to be able to talk to somebody who really understands what's going on with things. I feel like one of those people just because of how much I shop. I mean, seriously, I lay around with my iPad all day, flipping through all my favorite keywords. And the prices are rising. So that's the next step. You see on the market, a lot of nice cards are drying up, even modern cards drying up. And prices are starting to rise just a little bit, not too much. Sealed products not too unaffordable anymore. Remember Vivid Voltage and Shining Fates and Champion's Path? That was a cluster. That was really bad. Actually, when that was happening with Vivid Voltage, I was looking at it, shaking my head. I was like, no way, man. This is crazy. And people were still buying from me. I couldn't believe how expensive Vivid Voltage was, and people were still buying. So, I don't know. I guess in a way it kind of gives you faith in the price of cards for the long run, you know, because I got my own private stash of sealed product that I'm just letting get old, and it makes you realize people would they just want to have a good time, you know what I mean? But the price of Vivid fell considerably, and a lot of other sealed product fell too, modern sealed product. That's because they're printing it out the wazoo, I promise. First of all, yes, we moved into summertime. People don't buy as many cards in the summer. People ran out of their stim checks, but it's, you know, I promise you they're printing it out the wazoo, because when you actually look at the population numbers on PSA, you see that all these Charizards are being graded. Tons of Champion's Path, ton of Shining Fates, and those cards really have fallen in price and have not really recovered either. So look out for modern 10s of the chase pulls from these recent Sword and Shield sets that everyone was freaking out about on social media. Everyone's aware of it. You know, have you ever heard the term buy the rumor, sell the news? Well, the news has been out for a while. Oh, you should get the Shining Fates Charizard, right? And there's like a bazillion of these cards now. You see like Champion's Path Charizard way, way cheaper than it used to be. And there's just this massive population. Although I'll mention, for a long time, I've told you guys, the Burning Shadows Full Art Charizard's a good investment, right? He's holding value. He is. And they have not added that many to the PSA 10 population for him. And It all comes back down to the cutting error that he has on the back of the card for all of the cards that were printed after the first wave. So there's some kind of cutting error, it just looks bad. It's like a frilled edge or something like that, so they don't grade 10 very well. So I've got one of those. I've got one of the XY Evolution Holo Charizards. That grew in population enormously. However, I think part of the reason for that is because that's how much Evolutions is being opened. Evolutions, if you didn't know this, is maybe my #1 selling booster pack on my channel. You guys know I sell a lot of booster packs every day. Now it's a little slower. You know, the price has gone up from where it used to be. So it's a bit more expensive and people don't buy it in as high volume. But you'd be surprised, man. If you were to compare it to any other one set, I think I've sold more Evolutions than anything else. People love that set. They love the Charizard in it. And his population grew to like, the Holo one grew to like 270 or something like that. But the PSA 9 population for it is massive, which means that he doesn't grade 10 very often. Also, I'll point out, when you're shopping for one of those Holo Charizards, really tell the seller, that you don't want it if it has even the faintest print line in the holo. Because I think one of the reasons why his population is growing is PSA is allowing him to have a print line in the holo. So tell them you don't want that, and if you have it, that you would like to return it before you buy it. They won't like that. They'll be like, but you know, it's better to do that than to have one that's, you know, like a pseudo 10, you know, like PSA is going, sure, that's a 10. But wouldn't you rather have one with no print line in it? I know I would. So I worked very hard to get one with no print line. And at least if it's going to have a print line, get a very, 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 very small, faint print line, okay? So that's important for that card. But yeah, so that card grew in population considerably. But I think also, if I had to guess, there was some enormous number of them that have been sent in for grading. And I continue to look at that Charizard as a pretty investable Charizard, and eventually I think Evolution cards will become considerably expensive to open, which will slow down how many are being submitted as well. And we saw the XY Evolution set really drop in price after Christmas, and it is starting to rise again right now. That's exactly what I was saying earlier. PSA slab prices are starting to rise. XY Evolution prices are starting to rise as well. And I'm surprised more of the XY series isn't rising just in general. But you know, it's kind of funny. I was going through every single pull in the XY era. There's not that many. Did you know that? I was looking at all the potential pulls you can make from every set. And there were only a few pulls that really impressed me. Like the Ancient Origins Lugia, he's really good. So if you don't have the Ancient Origins Lugia, why not? Another one, the Dialga from Phantom Forces or something like that. He looks pretty good. I'm not a big Dialga fan myself, so I had an opportunity to buy one before, but I didn't jump at it because they want so much for it. You might as well go buy like a WotC rare, you know, WotC First Edition PSA 10. And those populations are so small, and there's not a lot of that product left, I think. You know what I mean? So it's hard to justify buying some of these modern cards when, you know, I'm actually a fan of the old vintage cards. I was opening those when I was a kid. You know, so yeah, so overall, here's my impression. PSA has not opened back up, and I don't know what price you will see on PSA ever again. It's not a good sign for anyone who thinks PSA card prices are ever going to, PSA submission prices are ever going to return to normal. I suspect in like a year, we're going to get $40 bulk submission. And by then, they're going to have established all new offices, huge numbers of graders. It's going to be all AI assisted and blah, blah. I hate the word AI, by the way. But they're going to have it all, you know, computer softwares and everything all set up really well. So that's my suspicion. They will open up bulk grading when it benefits them. Beckett and CGC, when you can pull the pristine and the perfect, they're very good. The 9.5s are struggling. You're going to lose money on them, but right now they're your best choice. What happens to CGC and Beckett when PSA opens back up fully? And especially if it has a competitive price, I don't know what's going to happen. All these sort of like mom and pop grading companies showing up, guys grading from their basement, that'll be me pretty soon. They're for fun. You can do them if you want. Here's what I've thought a lot about that because, you know, as you guys know, I'm going to try and grade cards. If you're going to grade cards with somebody like that, you have to think of it like this. Let's say you got a $50 card and they're charging $10 to grade your card. Great. So you have to think of it like this. It's not a lot. If you can sell it for 60 bucks, it's kind of like just selling your card raw. And as long as you didn't wait very long for the grading, you know, big deal, I guess. As long as you can sell it to get your money back on the cost of grading. However, for long-term investment, PSA all the way. It's still PSA, even though everyone is currently hating the company. Everyone's tired of how long it's taking. Everyone's frustrated. And in the light of them being closed for this long, there's probably more raw cards on the market for a lower price than should be, because there's going to be all these cards that normally would have been graded at PSA that are currently not getting graded. They're just sitting in people's closet. People are going, I'm going to grade it once PSA opens. But some of them probably give in and go, I'm just going to sell it raw, forget about it. Or I'm going to send it off to GMA or something. I might try GMA, I don't know. GMA's been around for a long time, by the way, if you didn't know that. GMA's been around for a long time, but yeah, there's SGC and no, forget about it. We're doing luxury grading. Shouting out their names here. But yeah, so now might be a good time to pick up some raw cards. I would be very careful about selling your PSA slabs. When PSA bulk opens back up, if it's like $40 to grade a card, what should happen, the market should react to that and go, holy, $40 just to grade, huh? Well, this should cause the price of a PSA card to actually go up, believe it or not. Because if you want the same label, you're gonna have to pay so much money just to get the card graded. I feel like it will actually raise, I don't know how much, but I think it will actually raise the value of PSA cards a little bit. Because now you're gonna be looking at that card. Here's part of the way that the price of a PSA card is calculated, by the way. So you go, I could buy that Charizard for $600, or I could open up $600 of raw booster packs and then send it off myself, right? Well, if it costs $40 to send it off yourself, that's going to be part of the calculation. Does that make sense? So that's part of the calculation. If it costs more to send the card off, what happens is, you know, the way you're balancing buying raw product versus sealed graded product, you know, that sort of equilibrium is going to change in your mind a little bit. Yep, that's where I'm at. Would I buy CGC 9.5s? I think I would, but they really do have to be at a considerably discounted price still. I don't think that CGC 9.5s are going to sell well when I return to the market, and I feel the same exact way about Beckett. Beckett's actually in third place for me. I like CGC better than Beckett. I heard Beckett was closed too. Is that still true, guys? I don't actually know. But I don't like Beckett's bulkier square slab. I like CGC's slab a lot better. People complain about the label being ugly. It's just a label, guys. Who cares? It's like the color blue. Yeah, that actually makes me wonder, should I have a white label? Yeah, the blue label. It's not a big deal, is it? Maybe it is. You guys can tell me in the comment section. And I guess I would probably conclude with this. I feel that the card market has been put on a chilling rein, because people know they can't just open product and send it off to PSA. They know that. And in a while, when this big empty space of time where nobody was submitting to PSA, when that area of time, like maybe 11 months from now, when it catches up, I think there's going to be an issue on the market where there's no PSA slabs to buy anymore because people aren't getting their returns back and then immediately listing them anymore. So I think PSA prices will rise considerably during that period. And that's it, yeah. And also, Christmas is around the corner. So when Christmas shows up, I think that people will be opening their wallets once again and going deep on Pokemon cards. And maybe Pokemon cards are more of an indoor hobby. So during the winter, people have less to do outside. So maybe they do a little more inside activity. I don't know. Also, if any more stimulus checks show up, if a stimulus check shows up, the moment you hear that news, go buy yourself some cards, because no, don't buy yourself some cards. Buy some cards now. When you hear that news, list your cards for sale. There you go, because that will probably be one of the best times to sell your cards. Depends also on the size of the stimulus check, I suppose. I don't think we'll get any more stimulus checks. It's been too many. The US dollar has inflated by so much. All right, well, that's basically going to be it. My conclusion was that PSA is still the leader in graded cards. CGC and Beckett are second and third place. They are not holding up the same value that PSA is. That's what I'm observing with my own eyes. Modern Charizards are way overvalued, and be careful around them. Some modern sets are okay. Maybe some XY sets, maybe some older Sun and Moon sets. Like Team Up's really expensive. Did you notice that? Beware a Sun and Moon reprint. Oh, yes. I suppose Pokemon could reprint Sun and Moon. I think Pokemon has increased their capacity to print cards, and this should make Sword and Shield cards much cheaper. You know, if there's a population of like, let's say 3,000 Charizards, there's still nothing wrong with collecting one. Just don't overpay for it, okay? So if there's going to be like 4,000 or 5,000 of them, wait until 4,000 or 5,000 of them have been graded, and the price will go, you know, the price will keep falling, right? So PSA is still working their way through their big backlog. Wait for that price to keep falling on the modern cards, because it will, especially for sets that were still being opened right before PSA closed. So those will continue to fall. I have a strong opinion that the vintage cards are currently considerably underpriced, and that prices are beginning to rise right now. And I think cards are in a very good position, and when PSA opens back up, it will be crazy. That's my suspicion. When PSA opens back up, it'll be crazy. And if Logan Paul and other big YouTubers do another box break, that's going to be a big trigger moment as well. Especially, imagine this. Imagine if Logan Paul opened something that wasn't Pokemon base set first edition. He could easily get like a Neo box or a Gym Challenge or Fossil or something, you know, something fun. I think some of the Neo boxes are really expensive these days, so he might focus on that. Yeah, if he box breaks a different set, you're going to wish that you had a bunch of those Pokemon from that set before he did the break. And right now, I still continue to enjoy the Japanese cards. The vintage Japanese is still one of my favorite things. It's still fairly affordable. It's actually getting closer. The sealed product is getting pretty close to the price of English first edition sealed. But that being said, a lot of the sets guarantee a holo. So is it close? You know, it's hard to say. And I look forward to opening more cards with you guys over the next 200 years, because we're going to live forever. So I'll see you guys tonight, and we'll keep moving on the Gym Challenge box, and that's getting, I think it's about 1/3 of the way filled, so I can't wait to fill it up and get it moving, and we'll do some more fun stuff after that. And of course, every single night we open quite a lot of modern product, which is fun as well. I like, so a lot of some PokeTubers or Pokemon card collectors who are big in the community, they don't like modern. I love modern. I just think that if there's going to be a huge population on something, it's less collectible, it's less rare. So just pay less for it and then enjoy it if you're enjoying it. So like, again, going back to maybe like Champion's Path Charizard. I like the way he looks. He looks great. But there's so many of them. Well, if you bought them at $50, it wouldn't be a big deal, would it? You'd be like $50. And then when you go to sell them for $50. Doesn't matter. So I still enjoy modern. You just have to be mindful of the price compared to vintage. If you're paying like $1,000 for a Champion's Path Charizard, where it's going to have a population of 5,000 Charizards over its lifetime when the product finally dries up. It could be higher than 5,000. But if it's going to have a population of like 5,000, you can hardly compare that to like maybe the XY Evolutions Charizard that might have a population of 1,000 once all of the product has dried up. Or like Shining Charizard from the Neo Destiny collection. That one's got like a population of 250 or something like that. And it may never really break 300 even. So you have to think about that. But of course, he might be appropriately priced. I think he's like $13,000 or something like that. So yeah, you just got to think about those population reports and be careful around modern. And remember, now might be the best time to pick up cards, because people are not grading with PSA and they might be taking a little break from the hobby. It is summertime and no more stim checks. Okay, so that's my market update. That was like 30 minutes. I talked way too long. Do you guys like these? I can do more. See you later.